Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough with various wins for Pro and Expert Division for the Sakura Hills 2 in the Spring Major Tournament. These are all the videos that you will see here from the last time we had the Sakura Hills 2, which was quite a while ago though, but we'll still use as a good example on how to play the halls of the Sakura Hills 2, because it's Spring Major Tournament week. Super excited. Hit the thumbs up button if you do like the video. Also subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy the content, and then turn on the notifications. You can scan the QR code here on the screen. There we go. Or use the link on patreon.com/golf-tommy. From Monday the 21st of April to the 23rd of April, which is Wednesday, we are giving you 50% off when signing up to any of our tournament packages on Patreon. Make sure to look for the code in the description down below once the code gets revealed the 21st of April. Last but not least, follow the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions, but you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. Hole number 1 is played exactly the same as before, in my opinion. When I do have a headwind, I do like to start with a quarterback, and I start incomplete max distance to then switch to the Apocalypse. Please do not be blinded by me playing with an Apocalypse level 8. This shot game we played with an Apocalypse level 2+. And the reason I want to play with Apocalypse is due to the curl, because we do want to push the ball to be as far right possible. So starting with the quarterback, starting with the quarterback, switching to the Apocalypse and Thornbag, then using 6 top spin and 3 right spin. Adjustment is max +10, and then full curl to the right with max overpower with a slightly slower needle. Then the ball will get down there. Obviously, if we do have a tailwind, we can then push the ball all the way to green, and that's going to be a fun shot. But I think the more sensible way and the more consistent way of attacking the pin for an eagle would be to just lay up where we are now, regardless what wind direction we have off tee, and attack with our short iron. Second shot, we do play with a short iron here, and here I'm going to estimate my club distance by moving my target up to max and then moving back. Here I play medium distance with a 10% over adjustment, and I'm gonna play no spin. I try to use the hill there at the back, and it sometimes works and sometimes not. It all depends on what angle you get onto the green. So with that in mind, I would say attacking the pin straight on is going to be the best way to do so. And because we don't like to play with inconsistencies on that hill on the back there. But again, I'm not ruling it out from certain angles, but I would say from a consistency perspective. Adjustment is done. Always pull over the bullseye, center the ball, hit perfect, and we're gonna have a good chance of getting a drop here on hole number 1. Hole number 2 has become much more difficult in my opinion. This because the pin stands very close to the right side, but also stands shorter on the green than what it did before. And now I do feel that this spot that we're playing into here, where the pin stands, is fairly inconsistent. It doesn't really feel like a nice flat spot, and doesn't seem that it will involve many different happenings that we can control. Here I'm playing from absolute min line with my Grizzly with a sniper in crosswind and in headwind. I will do that with my sniper. If we do have a tailwind, we can play with the Grizzly instead, and because otherwise we'll be going between clubs. Using spins here, so the ball guideline is past the hole plenty, and unfortunately missing just a little bit right. But if I would have aimed a little bit more left, that would have been a much better outcome. So hole number 2, very difficult one. What I adjusted here in the video, I adjusted 1-to-1 plus 1.5. So it's again a 1-to-1 situation when it comes to playing with our sniper. So for the drive, I'm starting with the quarterback from NMT, and then after that I'm switching to the big topper, because I do want to have as much topspin possible. When it comes to tailwind like this, it doesn't really matter what big topper level you have, because you will still be able to have the power enough, and you will also have the topspin enough. Those of you that do have the possibility to play with a Thor's Hammer level 6+, or an Apocalypse level 6+, then I would recommend to do so instead, because you will have more power and you will still have enough topspin to make it over after the first bounce. Adjust max plus 10, and then I'm using approximately 3/4 of a ball right curl and max overpower with a slower needle. Getting the ball over to the other fairway is essential to have a chance for the Albatross. If we do have a headwind of tee, we can't really do much. I'm gonna have to lay up on the first fairway. Second shot, I would say it's difficult. There is a sticky spot that I'm trying to play into, but with the pin now standing so close to the left-hand side, it's gonna be... I would say that this hole has been difficult before, but I think it's, you know, I think it's the same difficulty this time as well, because bouncing on this uphill fairway here has never been consistent, for me at least, and I don't think that it will be consistent no matter where the pin stands on the green, no matter what type of spin we're gonna have to use or landing position. So I'm doing my very best here, estimating the club distance, aiming just outside the left side of the hole, and then hitting perfect. The ball will obviously come in, it will be a safe eagle, but in this case you can see here with it that high bounce, and we are landing approximately, yeah, 1 green to a right of pin, which is not ultimate, but at least you have an idea on how to play hole number 3 with a new hole location. Once again, this is going to be a difficult one to get an Albatross, but if we do get the drive over the hill there, which we can do in whatever crosswind or tailwind that we do have, then we're gonna have a chance at least. If we do have to lay up on the first fairway, which we unfortunately gonna have to do in a headwind, then we are going to be in trouble in terms of getting the Albatross, but should be a fairly safe eagle. Hole number 4, the pin stands now more right and a little bit closer towards the tee than before. I would say it's pretty much the same, and the play is going to be the same as well. We're bouncing just before the rough in the sand, bouncing over the right part there. I'm using a little bit of left spin to come in more from the right side. I think that's the better way to do. 2.5 left spin and 5 backspin is what I'm using here, and adjustment is 8 rings for 6.5 miles per hour. Obviously the adjustment here will be different depending on what wind angle you have, so this is just a reference, but should help, especially if we're having wind right to left or even left to right for that matter. Bounces on the fairway and not even close to the rough line with the first bounce, comes in with a lovely speed and giving ourselves a hole-in-one. Sure, there is a possibility to play for that very skinny rough bump there as well, but I would say on this par 3, which is fairly simple, and I would say it's a little bit more simple, or it's simplified now after they have moved the pin to another location. So good chance here on hole number 4. Take your game to the next level with our ultimate tournament text guide for expert and or master division for the spring major tournament. Is finally here. Sakura Hills 2 in the spring major tournament. We have a very special deal to celebrate the spring major week. Make sure to look in the description down below for the code to get 50% off. Yes, 50% off starting Monday the 21st of April, going all the way up into Wednesday the 23rd of April. So once Monday come, check down in the video description or just look elsewhere on social media for this heavy discount. You need to use the code to be able to get the discount as well. You go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy via the link in the description down below or scanning the QR code. Free to play ball alternatives and paid ball alternatives as well it doesn't get much better than that. So make sure to utilize the 50% discount here for the spring and major tournament and get yourself in the mix of getting a good result. Alright, so I will admit, in Headwind here, we should not be playing with the Rock with max overpower, but this was the only bag that I actually had the Guardian in. So, in a Headwind here, I would recommend to play with the Apocalypse or whatever driver that gives you the most power, and pack the Guardian. So, using 5 topspin here, max overpower, but again, this is only for getting the ball up there on the fairway, because I do want to use the Guardian. So, bouncing on the fairway, up past that little fairway and sand there on the left, and now we are around 355 to 365 yards, and that's actually perfect when it comes to playing the second shot with the Guardian. But again, play with an Apocalypse or any other club that gives you more power than the Rock. In Headwind, in Crosswind and Tailwind, the Rock is a perfect use for its beautiful accuracy. So, when it comes to the second shot, I'm actually using the Guardian. After playing the rough bump plenty of times in practice, I do believe that the rough bump is going to be even more inconsistent now, with the pin standing further back on the green. Before it did stand shorter, and then it was easier. And then it was easier to attack the pin by doing the rough bump. So using the Guardian, aiming behind the pin for the ball to bounce past and then roll back. Obviously, the shot is not dialed in, as you can see here, based on the result, but the idea at least is something to that I do believe is the best way to do with the new hole location here. Bouncing on the green, as you see, getting past the pin, and sure, I'm getting close, but I should be adjusting a little bit more to allow for the ball to get further back and then not be so much left, even though it's assuming. I'm using no elevation and true club distance for the second shot. So for the drive here, I'm starting with the Rock in NMT, then swapping to an Apocalypse. Here it doesn't matter what Apocalypse you do have, obviously having it in a higher level will be an advantage, as the overpower will be needed for those with lower level clubs. Sure, playing here in a crosswind or a tailwind, then you don't really have that issue, but it's only when it comes to headwind. When not pulling into overpower, I'm not using any overpower either, just centering the ball, hitting perfect, using 5.8 topspin and 3 right spin, which are spins that can be used even all the way down to Apocalypse level 2. Ball rolls down the fairway. The only goal here now is to be consistent with my drive yardage and get myself prepared for a second shot with my sniper. With the new hole location, having the pin way further back on the green, it actually allows us to play into a pretty big funnel here. So I'm finding it in the end. So the idea here is the same as before. We're doing a rough bump because the rough bump is limiting the time the ball is in the air after the first bounce, and it will, in that case, help us be more consistent in going for an albatross. Ball guideline through the hole in headwind. And you can see here that I'm into the funnel, aiming just a little bit right side of the pin. Adjustment here now is medium distance plus 10 is what I'm using. And then centering the ball and hit perfect. And you will notice here now that the ball, once rolling into the green, comes in with a very nice speed into the funnel, and we drop it right at pin. Sure, it is a little risky maybe to aim that far out on the right side, but I think the funnel makes it worth it. And if we are just making sure not under or over adjust our shot, then we're gonna be fine. Sure, you can play bouncing over onto the green, you can move more left and do a rough bump from there as well. But if you're going to go aggressive, not, let's say like this, if you're going to go for the albatross, the way explained here in the video is the best way to do so. But you can obviously play simpler routes, which will allow you to get the albatross less times, but it will at least minimize all the risks. Hole number 7, we're gonna start by adding 6 bars of backspin with our sniper. Now we're gonna go for a rough bump. Now with the pin standing so short compared to before, the only thing we do have to do here is to do a rough bump or a sand bump. Even if you're using a backspin boost ball, it's going to be very difficult for you to get the roll back to roll as much as it needs to, because you're gonna have to aim very far behind the hole. Maybe with a guardian and a backspin boost ball that would be possible, but I would recommend to go for the rough bump, even though it might be risky for some of you that you feel that it's too it's a very small area. But if you adjust correctly and you center the ball and it's perfect, you're gonna have a very good chance with the rough bump. Bouncing into the rough, you could see that I aimed 1 green square right of the pin with the ball guideline, sorry, the bullseye to be just before it shows it bounce on the fairway. And this is to compensate for the headwind that compresses the ball guideline and will land further back. If we would be having a tailwind, I would not be aiming at the edge of the rough line. 1-to-1 adjustment, and it dropped dead center. For hole number 7, now I do think there is tons of value in trying to push the drive as hard you can to the right. So what I'm doing here is that I'm playing with the rock. I'm gonna use 1 bar of topspin from an NMT position. NMT means no move target, so you're not gonna touch the target until it's time to adjust the rings. Adjusting max plus 10, and then I'm gonna go full curl to the right. And the intention here is to clip the rough with my second bounce and roll out. And the reason I want to clip the rough is to make sure that I'm not gonna go too far and into the rough on the back. So that's a perfect bounce, and we roll out. And now we're gonna have a short iron towards the pin. For the second shot, now with the pin standing so far right and bouncing on this fairway before the green is so weird in my opinion. I decided to go with a max backspin shot here, and I'm gonna go with the ball guideline to point approximately half a green square right in the divide between the bright and the dark green square row, using max backspin and 0.8 right spin. I'm adjusting 3 rings for 6.1 miles per hour. I would say that the true elevation here would be no elevation, and then whatever slider that becomes with that. Obviously try to give yourself a reference with a rough check, frame check or something like that to be consistent with everything. Bounces past the pin, rolls back dead center for a lovely eagle here on hole number 8, which I do think that the new hole location is still not as equally tough, a little bit easier than the one we had before, because before it did stand it's so short, but now it stands very long and right, so it's kind of the same but still a little bit easier. After plenty of practice, I couldn't get anything than headwind, which it's very unfortunate, because tailwind here is obviously much easier than having headwind off tees. So having headwind, I'm playing an NMT, adjust max plus 10. I'm using the club with the most topspin possible, combined with a power 5 ball. Here, if you do have the possibility to use a topspin boost ball, I would strongly recommend that, because the further up you're getting on the fairway, the better it's going to be for the second shot. Because this hole here, especially if it's not tailwind, it's going to be eagle only, and it's going to be a tough eagle to get, because you see here I'm playing with an Apocalypse level 8, and you may not have that type of club. You may have an Apocalypse level 5, level 4, level 3, level 2, and then everything is going to change, because you're not going to reach as far as I do, and you're going to have to struggle when it comes to the second shot. So once again, Play with a club that gives you the most power and the most topspin possible when it comes to headwind and crosswind. When it comes to tailwind, you can come around playing with other drivers such as the big topper and stuff like that to utilize the topspin, but in the end, it's going to be a tough one if you do not have high level clubs. Second shot is to transport the ball towards the green, and here I'm having the Guardian, which may not be the best club here. Big Dog or the Cataclysm would be better to use a little bit more topspin to roll up the ball towards the hole. Here you can also notice that if you do have a tailwind off tee, the pin stands more makeable now than what it used to be, because before it did stand more right, and then it was very difficult to attack the pin because of the bunker and the rough on the right. So adjusting into overpower here, then I'm using an overpower, but the topspin on the Guardian is not really my friend here, and I'm just trickling onto the green. And just for reference, having the ball from the having a pot from the distance that I have there on the green is going to equal almost a max overpower pot. So please push harder than what I'm doing here. Make sure to pack a wood club that give you more topspin so you can roll the ball up towards the green. Sure, even though if you fall back due to the hill there past the pin, it's still going to give you a much shorter and sweeter putt for the eagle. But once again, to summarize, in headwind and in crosswind you're playing for eagle only. In tailwind there opens up a possibility to attack the pin for an albatross, but you need to reach far up the fairway to do so. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wins for the Sakura Hills 2 in the Spring Major Tournament. Do not miss out the chance to join our tournament packages on patreon.com/golfclashtommy via the link in the description down below, or scan the QR code. You get 50% off by using the code that will be revealed Monday the 21st of April. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I wish you best of luck in the Spring Major Tournament.